Hi, I'm Sarah Parlier, and I'm the Director of Student Development at Trails Momentum.
And I'm Dan Hadley, and I'm a therapist at Trails Momentum.
Today we'd like to take a few minutes to talk with you about an important conversation we hope you're having with your young adults, and that's the conversation around social media. The first thing that we should probably find out is why this conversation needs to happen. So I'm going to turn to Dan for this. Dan, what's going on with young adults that makes this an important talk that parents have with them?
Yeah, there's a lot of different levels to that, but what I really want to talk about is just the neurological piece first. So young adults' brains, we're talking 18 to 24, are not developed yet. That part of their brain that is responsible for decision making, good ones.
Yeah.
That one's not fully on board yet. It's not online yet.
Right.
And so this population is spending a ton of time on screens.
Yeah.
And at the same time with undeveloped brains, which causes a problem in a lot of different ways in a lot of different families.
So when it comes to certain behaviors that they may exhibit online, they're making decisions online that maybe a more developed adult would not be making.
Right.
And like risk-taking behaviors and those kinds of things. Are we seeing an increase in those because of the online activity?
Yeah, we are. And the thing about being online is that you can, part of having a brain that doesn't have its frontal cortex kind of developed is decisions become impulsive.
Right.
And so you're online and you have an opportunity to make a decision whether you like somebody or whether you want to post something because you're angry. And you can do it impulsively and not know the immediate implications of it.
And how do they feel? Like what's going on brain-wise in terms of like reward? What does that feel like in the moment in their brains because their prefrontal cortex isn't developed?
Well, two things. One is if there can be a sense of it's complete, it's done, I can get rid of it. And then the other piece is the longer we stay on a screen, the more our brain chemistry changes.
Wow.
And in doing so, we end up in a position with a lot of dopamine intake that we're almost on a high. So to make decisions from that place isn't necessarily going to be reality-based.
Right. So they're getting rewarded for doing stuff that's probably not smart to begin with, and then that's just feeding that continued impulsivity that they're already exhibiting.
Yep.
So parents really do have an obligation to their young adults to have a conversation about what they're doing online and maybe how that use of social media might be impacting their brains, but also impacting them externally, like in their lives. There are a couple things that I really think about a lot when I think about young adults and social media. One of them is their long-term like professional identity and where social media use might take them or not take them. And the other thing is relationships. So when I start with thinking about their careers, a lot of 18 to 25-year-olds are, they're thinking about college, they're planning their career steps, and they're maybe starting to work. And what I found when I started looking around online about, how is this impacting them, there was this article in Forbes magazine that talked about how oftentimes employers will actually go to social media apps and look to see what their applicants are doing online. Almost 40% of employers admitted to looking on apps like Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat to see what they can find from their potential employees. And they're looking for things like professionalism. They're looking for what kinds of credentials these employees may have that they're not sharing necessarily in a paper resume, like what do they look like as a whole person. They're looking at some of their behaviors that may show up and bleed into their professional lives that they might be worried about. And they sometimes will even find that there are things they see online that could rule them out as a good employee. So it's a really important piece for young adults to keep in mind. And I think that's a great conversation that parents can have with their young adults. Like, what kind of identity do you have on Facebook? How might that be impacting that application you just submitted at, this company? And then the other thing that I think we both talk about a lot with our young adults at Trails Momentum is how are their social media behaviors, their online behaviors, how are those behaviors impacting their current relationships? How might they influence their future relationships? And I look at social media and online behavior as being like a new complicating factor. It just makes everything more difficult. You think about like the ways that we can use online apps like, again, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram to monitor people and to see what they've been up to in their previous relationships. And again, there was some research that showed that there's an increase in jealousy-related behaviors like online stalking, and then becoming anxious and like paranoid about other people doing that to them. So there's a lot of mental health implications
like
here.
anxiety and depression.
Yeah, anxiety and depression go up when young adults are behaving in this way online. And the other thing that can happen is there's this real communication breakdown. If you're communicating all the time through social media, you stop having those face-to-face conversations.
Right, all those nonverbals, you don't get to see the person, experience doesn't happen.
Right, so your ability to really negotiate appropriately in person with people is degraded through that. So, we have these conversations all the time at Trails of Momentum with our students, and we hope that you're having them with your young adults at home. As parents, young adults really, they deserve our time and attention.
Absolutely.
And they're still developing.
Right, absolutely they are.
We look forward to learning more with you and helping your young adult. Get in touch with us today.